Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know with BIN News. The Trump administration is considering selling 320 federal properties listed as non-core. The General Services Administration says most are empty or underutilized office spaces, potentially saving over $430 million in annual operating costs. Measles cases in Texas are showing no signs of slowing down, with nearly 160 now confirmed. U.S. asset management firm BlackRock will buy 2 ports at either end of the Panama Canal for $22.8 billion from a Hong Kong firm. The Chinese ownership of these ports has angered President Trump. BlackRock's workforce is currently 5% black and has made efforts to increase the representation of black employees. And the Vatican says Pope Francis has not suffered any new medical crises. In an update Tuesday afternoon, the Holy See said the pontiff remains in stable condition and his prognosis remains guarded. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Attention New Orleans educators. Are you ready to transform literacy education in your school? The 2025 Literacy Leader Cohort is a 2-year program designed to empower middle and high school leaders with cutting-edge science of reading training, coaching support, expert-led workshops, and earn a $3,000 stipend. Apply by March 21st to lead the way in reshaping literacy for our city students. Don't miss this chance to grow and make a lasting impact. Visit newschoolsneworleans.org to apply and learn more.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 a.m.
It feels a little bit weird because it feels like the top of a week, but it's the middle of the week, y'all. Happy hump day. I'm certain that some of us are probably still struggling to get up and get our day started in the wake of Mardi Gras. A different sort of Mardi Gras, but Mardi Gras nonetheless. And so I don't know how you spent your Mardi Gras, your Fat Tuesday, but I can tell you what I did, and it wasn't out at the parades. But for those of you who did go, it seemed like it was a wonderful experience, even though it was like this abbreviated experience where you had, and listen, better safe than sorry, right? Sometimes you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But in this instance, a call was made to make certain that the city can keep the majority of its populace safe. And so there was an abbreviated sort of Mardi Gras experience. It still looked like it was very well attended from the videos and things that I saw. But there's some things that I absolutely want to discuss this morning as we come off of the Mardi Gras experience. And so it was quite literally one of those things where this city it really does, in my opinion, this crowd control, crowd management very, very well. And to say that it had to pivot and try to come up with a plan, you're not going to please everybody. Everybody isn't going to be happy, because I do know there's hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in the Mardi Gras experience for those who choose to ride in the parades or walk the parades or just attend the parades. There's a lot of preparation and money and resources put into the experience. So I get it. That is frustrating when things have to change on a dime. But at the end of the day, safety should always be the priority. And I feel like out of an abundance of caution and safety, the call was made to abbreviate routes, abbreviate how many folk could participate in terms of bands. I'm not even certain that there were any real, like the Tramps weren't involved in Zulu this year. I know a lot of the bands who would typically be there, a lot of the auxiliary, they weren't there. But at the same time, what it taught me, I'm going to tell you what it taught me. We're going to really have this conversation. It taught me that you show up when the goal is to show up. If you want to show up, you will show up. And I'm certain you understand where I'm going with this, because they moved the time and you still showed up. They abbreviated the routes and you still showed up. They cut out some of the things you wanted to see the most and you still showed up. So that tells me that when we want to, we will. And all I'm asking you to do is, you could party. Please do that. It's culture. It's cultural. But you know what else is cultural? Especially in our communities. Looking after each other, caring about each other, making certain that we're safe. And there's nothing more safe at this point than making certain that we protect the humanity of people and fight for true freedom and true liberation. And the only way that gets done in this two-party system that we have is to go and cast your vote. We have elections coming up on March 29th. Early voting is March 15th to March 22nd. But I'm telling you, when I saw what was happening with Mardi Gras, the very first thing that popped in my mind was, when the objective is to show up, it doesn't matter what roadblocks are in the way. It doesn't matter what concessions are made. It doesn't matter what obstacles are in the way. You show up. You show up. And there were a ton of people who experienced this abbreviated Mardi Gras, even with the time change. They pushed it up by an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. And people still showed up. So you have until 8 p.m. to even make it to a voting line. And if you're in the line at 7:58, stay in the line, because as long as you get there before 8, you can vote. 5 minutes of your time. We need it. We absolutely need it. We cannot go without it. We need you to show up. And even if you have an apathy, because that's understandable too. People are tired of showing up and voting and don't feel like they're getting anything in return. But I can tell you the alternative is much worse. Because to not show up, to not vote, you still won't be getting anything in return. But see, what I'm asking you to do is to put the humanity of people first this time. Even if it means putting aside your apathy and your discontent and your frustration, put it to the side. Because these propositional amendments, these proposed amendments, constitutional amendments, nothing about them, not one thing about them, is to better the infrastructure of people. So the same energy that we give to all of those things that we hold dear in terms of culture, I'm not asking you to set that aside. What I'm asking you to do is put something else in the box with it. Y'all put the party in the box, not put the purpose in the box with it. We have to do that. I don't knock anything about the culture of this city, because that's what makes her special. That's what makes her beautiful. That's what makes folk flock here for event after event after event. But what I'm asking you to do, because it doesn't matter how raggedy you think the Mardi Gras experience was, you still showed up. It doesn't matter how you felt they weren't throwing you anything, you still put your hands up in the air and say, throw me something. When the next float came. It doesn't matter how they shortened the route, you still went found another space on another street to enjoy the festivities. So if you don't grow in apathy for all of those sorts of things and you want to disconnect from those things, don't disconnect from this. Your humanity is at stake. It's okay to celebrate. I promise I love it. I love to see it. I love to see the joy. My godson had the time of his life. He's 3 years old. The time of his life at every parade. I want him to enjoy that. But I also want us to protect him inside of the ballot box. And how we do that is to make certain that people are not lowering the age that our children could be tried as adults for crimes that are discretionary to the legislature. That's what we have to focus on. At the same time that we're partying. I'm not asking you to stop one thing and start another. We're not a monolith. We could chew gum and walk at the same time. Yes, we can. We fly like that. So no, I'm not asking you to give up all of what makes the energy of this community move around. I'm not asking you to do that. All I'm asking you to do is share space with the things that actually are going to have a detrimental impact on our very existence. That's all I'm asking. Because y'all taught me something this Fat Tuesday. And we had a ball. Everybody had a ball. Everybody, they loved it. You take it how you want it. You can have your criticisms about it, but everybody, the little minor incidents here and there, every big event, you're going to have something. It's not going to go off without a hitch. But for the most part, the pictures were beautiful. Y'all dressed up real beautifully. I mean, I could do without seeing your whole derriere in pictures, but I mean, to each their own. I can't speak for that. I could go without it, but that's the subjective. That's my opinion. As are most things I say, my opinion, my perspective. But all in all, it was, to me, y'all taught me. I saw it in real time. That when we want to show up, when the goal is to show up, no matter what the circumstance is, the superintendent told y'all to pee before you showed up to the parade, and you still showed up. You ain't had no problem that they had no porta potties out there. You figured it out. So that's what I'm asking you to do. That's all. And if it makes you feel any better, put your same Mardi Gras shirt on when you go to the polls on the 29th, so you can feel like you parading to the polls. Do whatever needs to be done, but I need you to get there. I don't care how you get there. Get there if you can. And I know you can because you showed it to me on Tuesday. Every single thing could have gone wrong in terms of you enjoying that experience. But guess what? You made a way. You figured it out. You got there. And you was cute when you showed up. So that's all I'm asking you to do. Party, baby. Do that. I love it. It is who we are. We are true to the culture. But let's not forget that village is our culture as well. We come from a village mentality. We come from a collective mentality. We were taught to be violent against one another. We were taught to be disrespectful and call each other out of our names. That's a learned behavior. And it took years to embed it in us. It's going to take more than 60 years to turn it around. But what I'm asking you to do is don't forget the soil that you come from. And that the soil you come from is cultural. So if we could honor the culture that is the city of New Orleans and all of the things that make her beautiful, we also can honor the things that make us cultural ancestrally and honor the ancestors by doing what we know we're supposed to do to protect and preserve the humanity of us. And that means you cannot fall out of love with your civic duty. It has to happen. And if not for yourself, do it for the children. That's all I'm saying, y'all. Mardi Gras was great. Y'all had a wonderful time. I saw folks, videos where the Zulu people was giving TVs away off the float. He got money. Smart TV too. My son caught a whole slip and slide, a whole water slide off the float. So y'all was giving out some nice stuff. Everybody had a wonderful time. Now I'm asking all social aid and pleasure clubs. I'm asking all Black masculine Indians. I'm asking all poets and singers and baby dolls and skull and bones. I'm asking the entire culture, every sorority and fraternity organization, everybody that has a group of anybody, to give the same directive on March the 29th and go to the polls. I don't care how it has to be done, but we got to get there. That's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for that same energy to move the culture, move them to the voting booth. And we know you have the power to do that because guess what? All they have to do is say Zulu having this event. And guess where the people going to go? They're going to go where the Zulu people having the event at. They're going to say the Treme sidewalk step was coming out. Guess what the folk going to do? They're going to show it wherever Treme is showing up at. They're going to say 9 times having a second line. Guess where the folk going to go? Where the 9 times having a second line at. We know you can move the needle, but now we asking you to move the needle in the direction of our humanity. Because if we protect the humanity of us, partying will be warranted every single time. Every time. We ain't got no, you don't need a reason to party. Because you've protected the house and now we can go party. But we can't leave our house exposed while we going out there in the street and just reveling, and we don't have no idea that the cake that's being baked for our people. That's all I'm saying. Y'all ain't nobody asking you not to party. Because if that was my thing, I'd be doing it too. It's just, I just enjoy watching from the comfort of my home. It's not my thing, but it's your thing. And since it's your thing, I want to protect it because it's a part of the culture of this city. I love it. I love it for you. But what I also love for you is to help make decisions legislatively about the things that impact your livelihood from day to day. The cost of groceries, the cost of gas, the cost of rent, the cost of insurance. All of those things, those are everyday decisions for all of us. And we can't allow people to legislate us right on out of being able to thrive in a country that the blood of your ancestors built. We can't allow it. That's all I'm asking y'all to do. Consider the fact that we need to show up for each other. And this is bigger than any one celebration. This is bigger than any one parade. This is bigger than any one second line. This is bigger than any one Super Sunday. Because when we protect the house, we can do all of those things. We don't have to, sacrifice the culture or the culture of partying for the culture of voting. We don't have to sacrifice that. We can do both. We can do both. And if the reason is, oh, I'm so tired of voting because I keep voting and I don't see any change. Well, I can name a number of things that we continue to do even when we're being mistreated. We still show up. The people stripping diversity, equity, and inclusion out of spaces because they're trying to make DEI synonymous with black, but you still showing up and put your hard-earned dollars into that same system who is plotting on your demise. And all it would take you to do is to be inconvenienced a little bit and find a different grocery store. Might be a little bit further, might cost a little bit more money. But if you don't stand for something, they're going to continue to feed us anything. And as long as we keep accepting anything, the system won't change itself. So that's all I'm saying. And this is no criticism in terms of negativity. This is actually constructive in the way that I understand. I get it. But what I also get is I don't like watching my people suffocate, die slowly. I don't like to see it. And if something can be done about it, then it's our duty. It is our duty to do something about it. And we can start this month, Women's History Month, by making our voices heard legislatively. That's all I'm saying. Everybody has a role in the fight for liberation. Everybody. All I'm asking you to do is to not accept the role of spectator. That's all I'm asking. Get in the game. However you got to get in the game. But don't accept the role of spectator because it does nothing for the people. It does everything for the system. If you stand idly by and do absolutely nothing but watch. But that's all I'm saying, y'all. Happy post Mardi Gras, happy Wednesday, happy Hump Day, but it's also Women's History Month. And each and every day here, we're going to celebrate fantastic, trailblazing, trend-setting women. And if you know someone like that, the number here is 504-582-9422. And today I want to shout out Miss Carol Eggerlane, trendsetter, trailblazing principal from William J. Fisher Elementary School at the heart of the Fisher Project. She's the person who showed me the exemplar of what leadership looks like. What black women love black children looks like. So shout out to you, Miss Lane. Happy Women's History Month. And if you want to celebrate somebody, you could do so right here. The number is 504-582-9422 on the other side of the break. Y'all know it's a talk show, so we're going to talk. We're going to talk about the state of this two-party system because it definitely is not a union right here on WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Hello, friend. Tavis Smiley here with a special announcement. You can catch my show at a new time. Weekdays from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Same great topics, same great guests, same great conversations, just a little earlier in the day. It's Tavis Smiley, weekdays 1 to 4 p.m. only on WBOK 1230 a.m. What New Orleans is talking about.
Connect with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed. Stay engaged. Visit nolapublicschools.com today. Again, that's nolapublicschools.com.
Do you know what United Way can do for you and your community? Find out by listening to United Way and You every Thursday at noon on WBOK 1230. United Way continues to fight for the most vulnerable members of the community. Find out how this Thursday and every Thursday at noon.
Welcome to Liberty Bank and Trust, where your financial journey transforms communities. Since 1972, our customized banking solutions power your dreams and fuel your community growth. Every dollar you invest with us circles back to empower more people, ensuring opportunities for generations. Join us at Liberty Bank. Together, we empower possibility. Visit libertybank.net to start banking with purpose. Liberty Bank, there's freedom here.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
We are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. Happy Wednesday. Happy Women's History Month. Each and every day, all month long, we're going to celebrate groundbreaking, trend-setting, trailblazing women. And if you know a woman that fits the bill, you could always call 504-582-9422 and honor her right here on the airwaves of WBOK. But right now, we're going to talk to Dr. Allison Plyer. She's the chief demographer at the data center, and we're going to talk about this recent Pathways to Prosperity report for the state of Louisiana and talk about all the comprehensive, most up-to-date data points that deal with extreme weather, economic trends, adaptation efforts, and opportunities to strengthen resilience and so prosperity statewide. So good morning, Dr. Plyer. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, no, listen, happy Women's History Month as well. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
So did you enjoy Mardi Gras? Were you here for Mardi Gras?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, of course. Yes.
So even though this abbreviated thing, you still had a wonderful time?
I did. I had a lovely time. Yeah, walking around the French Quarter, checking out everything. It was lovely. I was up early. Yep.
Well, good. I'm glad. So, look, happy Wednesday. I'm glad to see you up, moving about. A lot of the folk have yet to get out the bed because they partied a little bit too hard, maybe. But I'm glad you are up and available to us. So let's talk about this this Pathways to Prosperity report for the state of Louisiana. Like, what are the big takeaways there?
Yeah. Well, we really start with the issue of the state losing population, which, of course, everybody's concerned about. And we pointed out that when we looked at the jobs numbers, the state has only increased jobs by 2% this century, like since the year 2000. And the nation has grown like 20%, 10 times faster in terms of jobs. So Louisiana has one of the lowest job growth rates in the nation. And the main reason people move long distances is for job work opportunities, economic opportunities. So people are wondering why people are leaving. It's not because of disasters. It's not because of high insurance rates. It's not because of crime. It's because they can't find economic opportunity in our state. And so that's, kind of the frame. And then we dug into where do we go from here, which I can tell you more about as well.
So what do you believe are the key factors contributing to the stagnant growth? You're saying in a century we've only grown 2% in terms of economic growth. So what do you attribute to that stagnant nature?
Yeah, well, we the state has just continued to be dominated by older industries like oil and gas and shipping and tourism, all of which, because they're older, they're now at the point of maximizing profits through efficiencies. In other words, mechanization, computerization, et cetera. So they're hiring fewer and fewer people. And we are one of the few places around the country that has not looked to new growth opportunities, new industries. We just keep focusing on the old ones. And that's really the reason we haven't grown jobs since 2000.
So how can policymakers ensure that the economic development efforts are inclusive and equitable, especially in this we have this tone and tenor about removing diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. How can policymakers ensure that is happening, particularly for communities facing economic disparities, such as New Orleans?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I mean, honestly, first they ought to focus at least on something that helps grow the economy, right? We're not growing the economy, nobody's getting a great situation here. I mean, obviously some people are benefiting and some people are doing fine. And it is inequitable, and I completely agree with you. But the fact that they're not even growing the economy, we really need to look at new industries and use the BP money that we have for coastal restoration to continue those big projects to restore our coast. And then we showed in the report that there is a real disparity in business ownership, and that there's a real opportunity to grow business ownership among Black entrepreneurs and other entrepreneurs of color, right, to be suppliers in the supply chain of this coastal industry and water management. And there are great organizations like Propeller that are working specifically with minority-owned businesses to help them understand what the procurement opportunities are and how they can gain credit and build their capacity to be involved in this water management work, which, of course, is a growing industry here and is growing in many, many, many parts of the country.
So we've experienced $34 billion extreme weather disasters since 2020, the most of any state. What are some of the most urgent measures that need to be taken to address the increasing frequency and severity of these weather events? And what impact would this idea of dismantling FEMA do for those efforts?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's some monies that the state has already received to really do more mitigation work, right? So, and even the insurance commissioner is trying to get more funding so that people can fortify their roofs, that sort of thing. Our utilities are starting to get some funding. They got some federal funding to do, fortification of their grid, et cetera. The community lighthouses, which are just an awesome innovation in New Orleans and are spreading across the state, are churches and community centers with solar panels and batteries so that they can be cooling centers and places where people can get food or charge up their medical devices whenever, whenever the power goes out for long periods, like after a hurricane. So all of that are things that are underway. Boy, then, sort of speculating on what's going to happen with, FEMA or even a number of other federal agencies at this point, there's just so much uncertainty that it's really hard to say. I could make some guesses. It looks like the federal government is going to say to states, hey, you're on your own. And it'll be really difficult for Louisiana to recoup because we have more disasters than any other state. And again, we are not a prosperous state. So, it would be important for the leaders in our state to work with the Trump administration to make sure that things like FEMA don't disappear.
And then, here in Louisiana, we always have this risk of extreme flooding. And the report indicates that many properties in the state, especially the southern parishes, are at risk of flooding, especially those with oil and gas infrastructure. What steps are being taken to mitigate the risk of flooding in those high-risk areas?
Yeah, well, that's where that coastal restoration and protection work is so important, right? And so that's one of the reasons we have this data really available so people can see. Obviously, the flood risk is huge, and the majority of properties in our southern parishes are, within the next 30 years, are likely to experience major or extreme flooding. And the coastal restoration and water management work is what needs to continue to protect those areas. And you may know that there's a major coastal restoration project that Governor Landry put a stop to, which is not helpful. We have the money from the BP fines to do that work. It's going to be really critical to protect all of the southern parishes, as well as the oil and gas infrastructure that's in those parishes.
Yeah, and what about, is this report that you guys have compiled, is that furnished to the insurance companies? Because when I think about the extreme flooding that we always are susceptible to, especially during hurricane season, and then I think about all of the folk who are uninsurable, people don't want to insure them because of where they live in flood areas, or the insurance is astronomical. Is this report furnished to these entities so that they can see the impact of what homeowners and renters and people who are just trying to live from day to day are experiencing in a state like Louisiana or in high flood zone areas?
Yeah. Well, certainly the insurance industry knows, about the costs. So, when we think about flood insurance, that's a federal program. And then homeowners insurance is state regulated. So the flood insurance, what FEMA has been trying to do is increase the premium so that basically, people are actually paying for the risk that they face, which means that the premiums are just going up astronomically. And there are certainly Louisiana leaders who are trying to work with the federal government to make sure that those prices don't go up astronomically. It's been an ongoing battle for a couple of decades, and sometimes they have some success and keep the rates down. But, in general, FEMA is really trying to make sure that they're gathering enough money and premiums to pay off all the claims. So it's sort of unsustainable the way that FEMA's got it set up. And then, the state is in charge of making sure that we can all afford homeowners insurance and other kinds of property insurance. And, it's not really clear that what they're doing is effective or not. The proof is in the pudding. So, I think there's a lot of need to invest more in things like elevated homes, fortified roofs, really, in Florida years ago, they created new building standards. And that, of course, made building homes more expensive. But those homes are the ones that have survived the hurricanes that come through. And then the older homes just don't survive. So it is possible to have building standards that will withstand hurricanes and flooding. And it's expensive. So it's it's very, the state is in a tough situation mostly because we keep focusing on oil and gas. And if we had diversified it at all away from oil and gas, we'd have some resources that would help our residents address these issues.
And just we were talking about the resilience with those questions, and we talked about the economic challenges with the previous questions. But this is about health and quality of life. So just as
Yeah.
Louisiana has one of the lowest job growth rates, we are also at the bottom in terms of life expectancy rates in the United States, with significant disparities between men and women. What are some of the main factors contributing to this phenomenon?
Yeah, well, across the U.S. and in Louisiana, the number one causes of death are, heart disease, of course, and cancer. And then what has jumped to third place, and astonishingly, is drug overdose deaths. And we have very high rates of drug overdose deaths in Louisiana. A lot of that is, what's called deaths of despair. People can't get good employment, especially men, and that this is a problem that we've experienced in this state. So has West Virginia. All the states that are so dependent on older coal or oil and gas industries, just don't have the economic mobility that people need to thrive, and so a lot of folks are dying from drug overdoses. But we also, have really high rates of other issues that I know nobody wants. That is the pregnancy-related deaths. Everybody would much prefer that our pregnant women are able to survive, but that's not what's happening. Unfortunately, we have one of the highest rates of pregnancy-related deaths in the nation, about twice as high as the national rate. So there's a lot of reasons that we have a low life expectancy, and there's we obviously the state needs to do way more to improve these outcomes to increase our life expectancy.
And for the data report, is there any correlation between being at the bottom in terms of the job growth rate and being at the bottom in terms of the life expectancy rate? Is there any correlation there? Because I think you touched on a couple in the commentary you just gave, but I don't think people give enough credit to what stress can do to the longevity of your lived experiences, right?
Yeah. You make a great point, because the states that have the lowest life expectancy, Alabama, West Virginia, Mississippi, and Louisiana, are also among those with the lowest job growth rates. Yeah, that's right. So they're right down there at the bottom. So exactly right. Because we don't have a robust economy, because we don't have opportunities, the stress is tremendous for people. And you make a good point about the correlation there.
Now, look, I try to think a little bit, you know what I mean? Because I'm serious. I really try to think a little bit. And I keep telling people, God didn't give me this big old head to not be able to think a little bit. I just try to think a little bit, and I just don't understand how our folks in legislative making bodies and decision making seats can't see the correlation between these broken systems and people's life expectancy, right? If the systems are working for its people, then people tend to live longer where the systems are working, right? I don't think you need any sort of like high level degrees to be able to find the correlation between broken systems and the fact that you don't live beyond 60 in certain areas, right?
Right.
I mean, that's just where I'm at with this. So talking about like the resilience of it all, like, that's a word they like to throw around for folk who are made to try to survive in broken systems. They like to use the word resilience because I think it takes a lot of ownership of the failures from the systems, and it puts it on the back of people. I don't want to be resilient anymore. Like, I want New Orleans to be able to thrive, and I want the systems to work so that our children don't have to do the same things we're doing to survive. That is when you see true economic growth, when you see true like longevity, when you see systems that actually work for its people. Like, how do you have a broken healthcare system and expect people to live long? How do you not have like access to good food, healthy food, and expect people to not live long? Like, people are living in food deserts, but you're expecting them to thrive. I see a correlation between broken systems and the fact that folk are not living to their fullest potential. So what does resilience mean for Louisiana in the context of increasing environmental and economic challenges that the state faces?
Yeah, absolutely. No, and you make an excellent point, and I mean, I think these challenges have just gotten increasingly severe, particularly since 2020. We were hit very hard with COVID, and then we've had, more disaster declarations than any other state by quite a bit, and, more damage. And so, it's, I think we went from, there were some measures where Louisiana was, the happiest state, right? But in the last 4 years, our rates of anxiety and depression are among the highest nationwide. I think that festivals are great. We love Mardi Gras. Thank God for all of that. It definitely, is an important outlet. But if you can't pay the bills, you're right back at it the next day.
Yeah.
It's not good.
I think about us being on like a hamster wheel, right? And like we're just spinning, and we think we're growing or progressing, but really and truly, like we're running in place almost, because it's just because our systems aren't working. And if we have all of this data, but we're not using it to inform our decision making in terms of the infrastructure of people that we need to invest in, because you can have all of the roads that you want paved real nice, right? You can have all of the bridges that you want paved, but if you're not invested in the infrastructure of people, what does this report even mean? Like, what does it mean to have prosperity if you don't have people? Like, you just want to have a vibrant city. How do you have vibrancy without folk? And I'm talking about healthy folk, not just zombie people walking around existing. And so, to me, this report serves as a baseline to track Louisiana's progress towards prosperity. What do you feel like is the main takeaway from this report? And how important is data when it comes to informing our decision-making bodies of what is best for this state?
Yes. Well, the takeaway here on this report is that we really need to look at growth industries of the future, like water management, right? Like stronger housing and other infrastructure. There's going to be need for that in lots of places. And if our state says, great, we're going to specialize in this, we're going to build on our strengths and specialize in these things so that we can really have a new economy, then that's exactly the direction we need to go. This report is meant to sort of outline for decision makers like all the ways that we're vulnerable economically and to disasters. We really are one of the most vulnerable states in the whole country, and we shouldn't pretend that we're not. So
come on now, Dr. Plyer, we shouldn't pretend that we're not. That's a word. That's a word. We shouldn't pretend that we're not. But here's my other question, because I'm an educator. Where do you feel, or where do you see education in terms of a factor to impact economic challenges, to impact the health and quality of life, to impact the resilience of this city? I believe, me as an educator, that is foundational in terms of data. Where do you see education playing its role in the grand scheme of things in terms of prosperity for the state of Louisiana?
Oh, yeah, education is absolutely critical. And in fact, one of the reasons why the state has not succeeded in growing our economy is because we way underinvest in education. And it's K through 12, of course, but also higher ed. And higher ed is, that's what industries look for if they want to come to a state, is they want a skilled workforce. They can't hire people who don't have the skills they need, right? And that's industry after industry that the state has tried to attract here has said, like, oh, we can't find any workers who have the skills we need. So, yes, education is absolutely critical and is a piece that absolutely has to be addressed as well.
Well, thank you, Dr. Allison Plyer, Chief Demographer at the Data Center. We appreciate you for joining us this morning, talking to us about all things Pathways to Prosperity for the state's report. But I also want to wish you again a happy Women's History Month, and thank you for being who you are. To girl power.
Yeah, all right.
So listen, happy Wednesday. I'm glad you enjoyed the festivities of Mardi Gras, and thank you for spending part of your morning right here on WBOK.
Thank you. Take care.
Have a great one. Listen, I think the the idea of having data to inform our decision making is, to me, foundational to being a good leader. Like if there's information out there that has been researched, has been peer reviewed, has been put through all of the systems to make certain that it has fidelity, has efficacy. Why are we not using these data points to drive what we're doing as leaders in this community? Education is foundational to me in terms of like healing a lot of the ailments that we suffer from economically, or when we talk about quality of living, when we talk about a workforce. Education. But I'm just an educator, so I might be biased. But look, stay with us, right? Because we have a whole lot to talk about. I want to talk to you about the state of the two-party system in terms of the State of the Union. Did you watch it? You have any feedback? The number is 504-582-9422. We will have that and a whole lot more on the other side of the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go, shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Hi, this is Arnie Filko. Let's elevate every Tuesday through Thursday from 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. as we discuss the community, the country, and the world, from politics to current events to sports. We look forward to your input and continuing the quality programming on your community station, WBOK. Join Carrie and I every Tuesday through Thursday, 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. on Elevated Conversations, the Arnie and Carrie Show. See you soon.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. My super producer, Nyron Sanders, is behind the glass, pushing all the right buttons. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Hump Day. We are on the back end of Mardi Gras, trying to get back to some sense of normalcy. I want to thank our previous guest, Dr. Allison Plyer, Chief Demographer at the Data Center. We were having this conversation about this prosperity report for the state of Louisiana. And the takeaway there is that we have to move and grow in terms of industry here. She was saying that we've been in oil and gas for a very long time, but we've seen stagnant growth over the last century. So we have to think about broadening broadening our industry there, and also how important education is. As an educator, I'm going to talk about it. It's just, I have a very, very strong belief there that a lot of the things that trouble us, that ail us, that are problematic for us, they're simply because of broken systems. And one of the broken systems that we have to pay attention to is our broken educational system, right? And so for me, we have to move away from blaming the people for how they survive in broken systems and start to focus on how do we repair the broken system. So thank you to Dr. Allison Plyer for joining us this morning. We're going to jump into world news in a second, but I want to also bring to your attention, I'm not certain if you are aware that this even took place, but a lot of folk who provide information to me in terms of sources, they're always like out there and about. I wasn't out and about during Mardi Gras, but this is the information that I received because they know that I'm on the air and they want information to be disseminated, right? And so a friend of mine, I consider him a friend. He posted on his social media. He said, and this is a direct post, right? On New Year's Eve, New Orleans experienced a terrorist attack. The terrorists took his car and ran over people on Bourbon Street. The officer you see in the picture and video, her name is Officer Carly, Carli, on Mardi Gras Day during the ending of the Zulu parade, passionately gave permission to the driver of the City Hall themed float to kill anyone in the way, which there were no people. She said, and I quote, "Run them over." She didn't believe anyone would hear her give such an extreme order, but after being confronted, she admitted to it and gave me her supervisor's name upon request. I'm asking that the community don't allow for this monster to be on our streets. She was placed here to protect us, but is clearly inciting harm. He also said he sent an email to Tyra Randall at la.gov and at Mayor Cantrell and at NOPD News, and he tagged all of these people in the post, and there's a picture of this officer, and it says that she works for the Office of Probation and Parole. The patch says DPSNC, State of Louisiana Probation and Parole. She's a young Caucasian female. Of course, I said she, so she's a female. Young, she looks young to me in this picture that I'm seeing, and she works for the Office of Probation and Parole. So I don't have a last name, but I could guarantee you before this day is over, I'll have her last name, because if this is the attitude that we're bringing into the city, this is an attitude that we need to eradicate from the city, because this is not a place where you can come and give murderous directives to folk who are driving floats, especially when we have legislators who believe that people can only say, "I fear for my life," and they can mow folk down because they are gathering in the streets, protesting or reveling for Mardi Gras or participating in Super Sunday or participating in Second Line Sunday, whatever the occasion may be. We don't need a reason to party in the city of New Orleans. But if this is the energy that you're going to come to our city with, then you, my girl, don't belong here. Not in uniform, not serving and protecting. Find you somewhere else to do that. But that attitude will not thrive here. And somebody ought to hold her accountable for this. And so all of the people were tagged. So NOPD can't say they don't know. They were tagged. And I'm telling it to you here on the air. Our mayor's office was tagged, and I'm expressing it here on the air. Her name is Officer Carly. She works for Probation and Parole. She was out on Mardi Gras morning, here to serve and protect and keep the peace, but she's inciting violence on the citizenry. Somebody ought to do something about that. And I'm talking about quickly. Because again, if this is her attitude, then she shouldn't be in law enforcement. She shouldn't even be working with people nor animals, nothing that lives and breathes. So I'm asking all of the people who are in decision-making positions to look into this. The city council, our mayor's office, look into Officer Carly that works for Probation and Parole. And this is coming off of a person that I respect, who I don't think that he would make this up. He said he heard her say, "Run them over." And he also says she apologized for it because she realized that she said it within earshot of the folk. And I'll repeat again what she said. She instructed the City Hall themed floats to kill anyone in the way. She said, and I quote, "Run them over." And in light of what we, the people of this city, all of our first responders endured on New Year's Day, that is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And something ought to be done about it. We don't condone violence. And if we don't condone violence, we want to make certain that we handle violence equitably. And that's a threat. That's inciting harm. I feel like it's a terroristic threat. Because, you know, we like to add nice little buzzwords to things when we want to make certain that we penalize people. So let's make certain that we say it correctly. That's a terroristic threat. To run folks over with a City Hall themed float. Miss Carly, Officer Carly, I'm going to look you up on the next break because I'm going to find your last name because I believe we need to call you by your whole name. It's unacceptable, and we need to do something about it. I have so many more topics to talk about, but we're going to talk about it in the 8 o'clock hour. We absolutely have to talk about this, though, because this is a city. We don't need a reason to party in the street, and we have an influx of police officers who are not born and bred right here in this city who don't understand the culture of this community. They're coming in form of Louisiana State Troopers. They're coming in form of probation and parole. They're coming from different parishes to police us. And if they don't understand the culture of this community, they will give terroristic orders to run us down in the street. And it's backed by people in the legislature who think that's acceptable. I'm certain she didn't fear for her life. Not with all this body armor she's wearing and guns and everything else she has on her body. You're not afraid, are you, Carly? But if you are, this is not the city where I want you to be policing. I don't think you ought to be policing, period. I don't think you ought to be working with anything that lives and breathes, dogs and cats included. We're going to figure out who you are, and I'm going to call you by your whole name when I find it. But stay tuned, y'all. You know, it's a talk show. We're going to talk. And we definitely have to talk about the state of the union, or as I say, the state of this two-party system. We're going to talk about decorum. We're going to talk about political correctness, right? Because decorum seems to only go one way. We're going to talk about the idea that the current president is talking about a death penalty for folk who kill police officers, but we have police officers giving terroristic death threats to the citizens of this city. Let's talk about it right here on the other side of the break. WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
WBOK 1230 AM New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know with BIN News. President Trump in his address to Congress touted his border crackdown, claiming the lowest illegal border crossings ever. He criticized Joe Biden as the worst president, citing high illegal border crossings during Biden's term. Former LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley will not be reinstated after the city council upheld her firing. Black Mayor Karen Bass cited her handling of the Palisades fire. Crowley remains with the LAFD in a lower-ranking role. A candlelight vigil for Black HBCU Southern University student Caleb Wilson, who died after an off-campus fraternity ritual, will be held at 5 p.m. on the Isaac Greggs Band Hall lawn today. The case is being investigated as a hazing death. And Delta is expanding Shake Shack cheeseburgers to more flights. First-class passengers on flights over 900 miles from Atlanta, LA, New York, LaGuardia, and Seattle can now order them for lunch or dinner. Shake Shack, along with Delta, continues to support DEI efforts. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Attention New Orleans educators. Are you ready to transform literacy education in your school? The 2025 Literacy Leader Cohort is a 2-year program designed to empower middle and high school leaders with cutting-edge science of reading training, coaching support, expert-led workshops, and earn a $3,000 stipend. Apply by March 21st to lead the way in reshaping literacy for our city students. Don't miss this chance to grow and make a lasting impact. Visit newschoolsneworleans.org to apply and learn more.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Happy Wednesday. Happy post-Mardi Gras. Happy Women's History Month. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. My super producer, Naira Sanders, is on the phone right now with probation and parole trying to get me the last name of Officer Carly because I don't play around here. I need answers. And if you want to answer, the number to the office is 225-342-6609. I want to figure out her last name, and I want to figure out if they're aware of this terroristic threat that she made in the city of New Orleans, especially in the wake of what we as a community endured on New Year's Day with our terrorist attack on Bourbon Street. And so that's what we're doing right now. But do not forget, if you want to honor an amazing trailblazing woman during Women's History Month, you could do so right here on the airwaves of WBOK. The number is 504-582-9422. But before we went to break, I was talking to y'all about the State of the Union address. Did you see it? Did you watch it? If you want to engage in a conversation, give me a call. But you know it's a talk show, so I'm gonna talk about it. And the takeaway that I had was this idea of the Republican Party trying to create this false standard of decorum. They were actually tossing people out. Congressman Al Green was tossed out of the State of the Union because he was protesting the current commander-in-chief by standing up. And he wasn't responding to, I guess, the gavel. And if you watched it, you also saw Vice President J.D. Vance in the back of President Trump doing the hand signal that he saw Trump doing, saying throw him out. Like, you know, he was motioning for the police officers, those same police officers, you know, that where they incited all that violence against him on January 6th, and then he pardoned those people. He was asking those same people and the sergeant at arms to remove Congressman Al Green, and they did. But they were asking for decorum. They kept hitting the gavel asking for decorum. But I'm asking you, the listening audience, if you remember 2 instances. I'm going to just talk about 2 of them. One from the prior administration and the one from the Obama administration. Do y'all remember? Let's start with the Biden administration. Y'all remember when the bad Bill Butch body woman said, you know, what she was disrespecting President Biden during the State of the Union. Y'all remember that? And if y'all don't know who I'm talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Not the not so gentle lady, Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's what I'm talking about. And that reference with the bad Bill Bush body, that ain't me. I ain't make that up. That's the congresswoman out of Texas that made that up. I have to laugh because it still hits to this very day, right? That was a good one, Jasmine. That was a really good one. But if you don't remember, President Biden at the time was speaking. And President Biden jousted during his speech with Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, a far-right representative with a history of interrupting recent State of the Union addresses. They said she has a history of interrupting. And she interrupted about crimes committed by undocumented migrants, saying that in one recent incident, a young woman was killed by an illegal. You know, they like to take one outlier, anomalies, and they try to make it as if it's a whole like a whole thing, like school shootings, right? They try to make it like it's this big phenomenon that's happening so they can incite all of this fear off of a false equivalency, right? Because if you really cared about violence, you really cared about talking about people killing folk, you'll start with that domestic terrorism problem that we have with these school shootings. But you're not serious about that because that would mean holding the NRA responsible. And you're not serious about that because they line y'all coffers politically. So we're going to talk about the fallacy that is her shouting out during the State of the Union to try to create this narrative that illegal immigrants are somehow responsible for all the crime in these United States. You know, they like to draw false equivalencies. So that's what she did. And the article says, this is not my words, the New York Times says, Marjorie Taylor Greene has a history of interrupting recent State of the Union addresses. So why now are we talking about decorum? Why now do we care if we respect the office of the presidency? We should, no matter who sits in the seat, right? We should. But the fact that you don't, but then when your person gets there, somebody that you align yourself with, now you want to go back to decorum? Nah, lady, we going to keep that same energy because respect ought to be about the seat and not necessarily about the person. But since you made it about the person by screaming and yelling when it was a president that you did not like, then it's hypocritical. It's hypocrisy. So then ask for decorum. Because I would say lead by example. Model the behavior that you want other people to have when it's your time on the clock. But you don't have any decorum. You're very much disrespectful. You are not a gentlewoman. We need to find another word than gentle ladies because that's just not who you are. But if you don't like that example, we give you another example. Y'all remember when President Obama was in office and Representative Joe Wilson out of South Carolina. Y'all remember that in 2009 when the president was having his speech to the joint session of Congress and Joe Wilson screamed out and called him a liar? Yeah, y'all remember it was real quiet at the time. He waited. He almost like waited for it to be dead silent. He screamed out and called the president of the United States. Say you lie. And then he got kudos from conservative blogs, right? You lie. That's what he said because Obama was talking about illegal immigrants wouldn't be covered under his health care overhaul proposal. Y'all remember that? But now it seems like the Republicans have short-term memory. You know, they can't remember nothing that happened beyond that very moment clearly because now they're asking for decorum. See, I miss the spirit of good trouble, necessary trouble. That's the spirit that I miss. Because see, for me, it's not enough to just hold up a sign or write some things on your blazer. If they would have been putting Representative Al Green out, they would have had to take us all out. Let's all leave. Or we'd have made so much noise he wouldn't have had an opportunity to speak. Go to the Oval Office and ask Elon Musk to stand over you and have the State of the Union in your office. But you wouldn't do it here because you don't respect the congressional power. You don't respect it. That's why you're throwing all of these executive orders out that try to circumvent Congress. You don't respect us. So why do we have to give you the floor and let you talk to us insanely, very disrespectfully on the microphone? So those are the parallels that I wanted to draw. I don't want to belabor the point because you get it. Decorum. You don't have any decorum. And if we're going to talk decorum, we need to model the behavior that we want from other people. But you don't get to be disrespectful, interrupt, call people liars, and then when it's your president's turn, you want there to be some sort of respectability politics. No, baby. The gavel got to bang both ways. And that's why I say this is not a State of the Union. This is no union. This is a state of a two-party system. That's what it is. There's no union here. If you would have watched it, If you'd have watched it, it looked like a showdown at the OK Corral. Like it was two sides ready to to draw pistols. That's what it looked like. This is real. This is our real government, y'all. It's not a Saturday Night Live skit. It's really happening. And of all of the things he said at the state of the two-party system, the thing that got my attention and made me lean into it the most was this idea that he said on the microphone that he's going to sign an executive order for the immediate death penalty for people who kill police officers. Now, let me be very clear. Because I know y'all like to listen for the salacious sound bites that they could like pull little things and they don't get the context of what you're saying, but they do it on purpose. And I, for one, don't have a care to give. This is the message that I received when I heard that. You want to empower police officers to kill with impunity in a country where you know that particularly Black people are killed at the hands of law enforcement, and the only thing that Black families have to show for it is some type of civil settlement because you think that you could kill us and then just give us a check and all will be right with the world. That's what I heard you say. And I'm talking because how do you respect police officers, but you pardon the very people that had an insurrection at the Capitol? An insurrection hurt police officers in an effort to try to hurt congressional people, members of the House, members of the Senate. But you okay that though. When you pardon, when you say they were fine people on both sides, that's what you said. And then you pardon them after they committed treason against this country. They hurt the very people who you're now saying it ought to be a death penalty crime if you kill a police officer. So what side of your mouth should we believe? Because you're talking out of both sides of them right now, Mr. President. What I'm hearing from your executive order is that now police are going to be more emboldened. And I'm talking about the Ku Klux Klan, swastika-wearing, Putin-loving police officers. The Nazi-loving police officers, that's the ones I'm talking about. Not all police officers. But see, the problem is if you mix the bad with the bad gonna make the good go to rot. And that's the problem. It's gonna make it very hard for good police officers to actually have a community that feels safe around them, that feels collegial around them. Because now you've given this your base, who happen to also be law enforcement, because they're everywhere. They're wearing judge robes, right? They're wearing suit and ties in our legislature. They wearing police uniforms. All of these folk who don't believe in the humanity of all people, they are in every facet of our government. And now you're arming them with the protection of the White House by saying, go out and kill them. I got your back. I'm going to make certain that you could do your job and you could kill with impunity, because now folk are going to be too afraid to try to use their Second Amendment right to protect themselves from rogue police officers. Because now you could die for it. Right? But you always could die for it, but now it's an executive order. What you think that's going to do to the racist underbelly that's also wearing blue? What you think that's going to do? Huh? It's about to be a hashtag fest. I don't know about you, but we ought to be tired. We ought to be tired of letting this man play in our face. And I think it's very sad, and I think it's very, very shameful of the Republican Party to stand up and cheer for that when you know what the tone of that is, when you know it's a dog whistle. And I'm certain the governor of the state of Louisiana is very proud. He probably was standing up cheering for it too. We love police officers. We love those who are serving and protecting us. We love those who respect the Constitution, who respect civil rights. and civil liberties, who respect equitable policing. We love those kind. The problem is there's not many of them. That's the problem. But let's talk about it. If you want to talk about it, 504-582-9422. Good morning, Ken Jones. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Dwyer.
How you doing?
I am well. You know, I've heard you talk about a couple things. Let me start with education and economic opportunities. Everybody is not going to college. Yeah, you and I decided to go, and that's great. But the thing is, do you have a skill? What do you have to sell? You know, whether you're a cosmetologist, because I sure don't feel sorry for the roofers or the plumbers, because they charge me by the clock hour. If they're going to get parts, they're charging me to get parts. All right? I don't feel sorry for them or the electricians. They're doing well. And trades have always been very good to us in our community, for one. Two, you know, we talk about education. Education takes more than one form. Yes, the schools are definitely, with the charter school movement, the way this is going, it's broken. It's no two ways about it, because what are we teaching? Are we teaching sustainable skills? The biggest thing we need to do is know how to add, multiply, subtract, and divide, read, and then write. On top of which, are we training for the skills that are there? We don't have VOTEC in schools. And are we training financial literacy? Doesn't take very long. You could do that for 20 minutes a week throughout the school year, because we are not financially literate. We don't understand credit. We don't understand how to keep books in businesses, because if you're going to own a business, the biggest thing you have to know how to do is keep books, because that is why most businesses fail, the internal controls. In terms of that, we need to, instead of asking somebody to create a job for us, create our own jobs. Guess what? Lawn care man ain't doing bad either. I went through college cutting grass and washing cars. Didn't do bad for me. I did all right. I wish I'd have discovered it early and had turned it into a bigger thing. Beyond that, we talk about this probation and parole officer. She's just that, probation and parole. She was doing security detail. Why are probation and parole doing security details? I have no clue.
Good
but
question.
That's for our state delegation to deal with. Rep. Knox, I think he might be the guy, or whoever the area people are, yes. The other guy hit everything, like he hit all the proper spots. But our state delegation are the people that would really have the power to talk to whoever's over Louisiana Department of Safety and Corrections to get to this person and deal with them. And you got to kind of wonder, do you want that person supervising somebody anyway who's on probation and parole, because they may have a bias that makes them incapable of doing that job. Last but not least, we talk about decorum and the president's executive order. That was really a messaging thing that he's saying. And this is, not unlike the 1890s to the early 1900s, when after Reconstruction and breaking and taking people's rights, that a rollback. We're in that period. He's messaging, and if you've never seen him do it before, you've never paid attention. He's done this many times. When he says something ought to happen, then the state legislators start doing it in various states, and that's what he's got going on right now. He's trying to get the states to pass laws, because an executive order does not create the force of law in a state legislature. It doesn't do it, but it's a messaging vehicle that he used to get states to do this. And if you kill a police officer, in most places, it's going to be a felony murder charge no matter what happens.
Right.
So it's kind of just more talk, more nonsense. Now, the real question for us is, we need to, one, support each other in terms of the African-American community and like-minded people, because everybody, great, we're 14% of the population, but you need a little bit more than that to move the needle. Now, you can, with that, create enough force where you can change an election, which is where our power is. We need to vote. As I always say, we need to educate ourselves on the issues and what directions we want to go in. We need to advocate loudly for those, and we need to participate, most importantly, by going and pulling the lever. You know, we need to do that, because until we do that, who's going to respect us? Nobody respects you if they know you're not coming out. It is that simple. And on March 28th this month is a prime opportunity to do that. You listen to Jeff Landry, right? Oh, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're going to make it great. They're appealing to what a lot of people think is common sense, because they have no clue of the government. They don't understand how government works. They think a philosophy will get you something. A philosophy gets you nothing. That's for common people, and common people are good for regular, normal things, not requiring a certain skill level and a certain experience level. Because the devil is in the details, baby. That's where the rubber meets the road. You know, and we need to get to the point where we are paying attention. And by the way, last but not least, the car running through the crowd. Just like that person's empowered to run the car through the crowd, you are empowered to employ your Second Amendment right for defense of self and others. Because I know if I am in that crowd and some crazy person decides they want to run through that crowd, there will be big, loud booms going into that car. I promise you, because I want to stay alive. I don't care what they're thinking. I know they then present harm to me, which I have a right subjectively in my own set of thoughts to use my firearm or any other lethal means available to me to deal with them. So that said, Dr. Wyatt, keep up the good work. You know, things are what they are for the moment, but we decide what direction they go in. Thank you for the time and the audience, and I hope today goes well for you going forward.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you here. Have a blessed one.
All right, now.
Hey, Gladys. Good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Thanks for taking my call. Amen to the brother, and you be encouraged. Please do.
Thank you.
Be encouraged.
Thank you, Gladys. That's all you got for me this morning? That's all you had for us this morning. Listen, we got to go to break, y'all. But, you know, it's so much to unpack. We're going to talk about a response to Attorney Ken Jones, and we're going to talk about we're going to continue to talk about the state of they're now saying it wasn't really a state of the union because he hasn't been in office long enough, but that's what they're calling it, a state of the union. But I'm going to call it the state of the two-party system, because he also made a statement that I think is so important for you to understand. And he said the golden age, he's talking about this golden age being back. And I think we need to understand what that means. So stay with us right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Norman Robinson is back.
Can you hear me now?
And he's taking no prisoners.
Can you hear me now?
Each weekday, Norman Robinson brings you commentary with Off the Top.
The incident was shocking, disturbing, disgusting, disappointing, and sad.
Each weekday, Off the Top with Norman Robinson is heard exclusively right here.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning and happy Ash Wednesday. I'm Daryl Forges with WDSU News, and here's your headlines. The New Orleans Police Department is investigating two separate shootings this morning. The first one happened just before 2 a.m. at the intersection of Common and Barone Streets. Police say a woman was shot in her cheek. Then about 10 minutes later, a man was reportedly shot in the stomach at St. Andrew and Magazine Streets. No word on either victim's condition or any possible suspects. Now it comes after a deadly shooting in New Orleans East shut down parts of I-10 last night. We're told a man was shot and killed on I-10 East just past the Crowder exit. Police believe the incident may have stemmed from a fight. The NOPD has not released the name of the victim or any suspect information. If you know anything about any of these crimes, call Crime Stoppers at 504-822-1111. This Mardi Gras was bittersweet for Mayor LaToya Cantrell since this was her final Mardi Gras as mayor. Over the course of her 2 terms, Cantrell has navigated tough situations related to Mardi Gras like the COVID-19 pandemic and other security challenges. And this year posed another challenge with the threat of severe weather. Cantrell's term expires January 9th of next year. And if you're Catholic, you know the start of Lent means no meat on Ash Wednesday and every Friday until Easter. There are several churches in the area where you can get a fried fish plate on those days. Churches in Orleans and Jefferson parishes and other parishes will be serving fish on some or all Fridays during Lent. Head to nolacatholic.org to see a complete list of churches participating. I'm Daryl Forges, and that's your headlines for WBOK. Have a great day.
NOLA Public Schools is excited for the rest of this 24-25 school year journey with our families, watching our students dive into learning, growth, and success. As the school year continues, our dedicated educators are focused on keeping every student engaged and motivated. Let's keep embracing new challenges, celebrating achievements, and supporting each other to make the rest of this year even more impactful. Stay connected with your school and NOLA PS through our social media channels for updates and resources. We're here to help our scholars attend today, achieve tomorrow.
WBOK and LCMC Health are proud to present Keeping You Well Cafe. 60 Minutes with LCMC Health, where the doctors speak directly to the people of New Orleans. LCMC Health is committed to improving the quality of care here in New Orleans, the Gulf South, and beyond. The Keeping You Well Cafe is another way for LCMC Health to engage with the community. At the Keeping You Well Cafe, LCMC Health joins WBOK and local businesses to answer your questions about wellness and health.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
We are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Shout out to my super producer, Nyron Sanders. And shout out to Ken Jones and Gladys for calling in this morning. We were talking about the State of the Union address that took place. They're saying he hasn't been in office long enough to call it the State of the Union, but that's what they're calling it. Y'all make sense of that. Whatever. I'm going to call it the state of the two-party system. And we were talking about this idea of decorum or lack thereof. We were also talking about this executive order that the president is talking about. If you kill a police officer, he wants the immediate death penalty. And again, we want our first responders, our police officers, our firemen, our EMS, all of the people who show up when danger is undoubtedly in the midst. We want them to be protected. We want them to be able to do their jobs and also go home safely to their families. But what we also want is for the citizenry to be safe. We want to make certain that when red and blue lights come on behind us, that we're not jumping up out of our skin because we don't feel safe. We don't feel protected. We don't feel like you're going to serve us. We don't want to feel like we're being over-policed or militarized in our communities because of the police presence. So if you're going to go forward with making certain that police can do their jobs, and if they're harmed, then there's a price to be paid, I would also implore the government to figure out how to keep the citizens safe from rogue police officers who kill. And the only thing that we have to show for it is a civil judgment, or somebody giving somebody a Bible talking about forgiveness, or somebody talking about their fear for their lives and they had to shoot when they're in the wrong apartment. Like there has to be a way where people feel empowered to do their jobs without taking the power from the people to exist in the communities that they're supposed to protect and serve. It actually can happen when you get this racist white supremacy ideology out of our systems. That's what has to happen. You can't try to serve and protect and all you think about is white power. It don't work that way. It's never going to work that way. You can't talk about serving and protecting if you don't respect the humanity of folk who are not white men, white wealthy men. Like this system will never have an opportunity to fully thrive if we do not eradicate the cancer that is white supremacy. It has to go. It has no place in any system where the humanity of people must be respected. You could be a white supremacist in your house if that's what you want. You could wear swastikas, Confederate flags. You could hail Hitler. You could do whatever you want in the privacy of the house that you pay a mortgage at or that place where you're renting. But when you occupy the governor's mansion, you can't be a MAGA-loving loyalist because everybody that you represent don't believe that making America great again is the way to go since America has never seen greatness. But you see, they're trying to roll us back to this. The president said the golden age of America has only just begun. What's the golden age, you might ask? Let me tell you something. It's an era and a period of unprecedented economic growth and technological progress. That's what this article says, right? But also of economic consolidation and growing wealth inequality. Titans of industry enjoyed enormous control over political institutions. Y'all know who that sound like? Elon Musk, huh? While everyday Americans buckled under the strain of change. As the gap between the haves and the have-nots widened, political culture ultimately grew coarse and violent. That's what the president says is upon us. Growing income and wealth inequality opened a rift in American society with a small group of elites amassing substantial power and influence. What that sound like, y'all? Don't that sound like the 1%? Don't that sound like the Jeff Bezos, the Mark Zuckerbergs, huh? The 1%, y'all know them. The people that's making all of your decisions about technology. The people making all of your decisions about healthcare. You know, they want to dismantle programs that help marginalized communities of people while enriching themselves. But they like you to think they're on different sides. They all on the same side. They all at the same clubhouse. They all smoking the same cigars from their yachts while you struggle for eggs and water. That's the era that he says it's only just begun. Political corruption and patronage were rampant then. Presaging concerns over corporate influence in politics. Both periods witnessed intense political polarization and social upheaval, reflecting deep divisions within American society. Don't that sound like Project 2025? See, they want to keep you focused on all of the insignificant things while they're making significant changes to the Constitution, the legislature, laws, policies, amendments. See, these folk, this type of thinking, they're banking on you giving up your civil liberty. They're banking on you having apathy about voting. They're banking on you not showing up to the voting polls. They're actually dependent on it. I know a governor that depended on it. That's how he got in the governor's mansion. They're dependent on it. They're leaning into their white supremacist base because they understand as a collective where they're trying to go. And they need your compliance to get there. They need your apathy to get there. They need you to fall out of love with your civil rights. They want you to give it up easily. That's what they want. And oh my God, see, that's why I love the WBOK listening audience. Because see, I didn't go to the parades. I didn't go. I was at home. But when y'all was gonna tell me that Rex, the theme of Rex, was the golden age, are y'all kidding me? Are you kidding me? Is that was the theme? The golden age. That was their 2020. See that's what I be talking about. They play in your face. That's what I'm talking about. They play in your face. Because if you ask me, the whole ensemble they wear look like the Ku Klux Klan, and then they gonna have a theme about the golden age. They want to take y'all back to burning crosses on your front lawn and riding white horses through your grass. That's what they want. That's where they want to go. And we allowed that foolishness. Huh? Didn't the leaders of the city, didn't they have to toast Rex? And they approved of that theme, knowing what it means? See, that's what I'm saying. I can't be a part of that. I can't be a part of that. Because see, if you condone that, that means part of you believe in that. That's how I'm going to look at it. And if you ain't for me, you're against me. Because there is no middle ground. There is no gray area. There is no fence to ride. Y'all really let them people have the golden age was their theme? I don't know what else to say about it. I'm actually tired of talking about it. That's where they want to go back to. Where the elites control the judicial systems. The elite people told the judges what to do. The elite people told the Congress people what to do. That's what's happening right here, right now anyway. If you got enough money, you could buy a seat, you could buy political influence, you could buy votes, you could buy an election. If you got enough money, you could create a catastrophe so you could benefit from it. If you got enough stroke. If you got enough money and influence and power and you connected to the right kind of white supremacist, you could fly a mega flag on the governor's mansion and ain't nobody gonna say nothing about it. If you got enough money. If you got enough privilege. Because see, even the people who think they got enough money, see, they mistaken the fact that you're rich, ain't they wealthy. See, y'all be thinking y'all got a seat at the table because you got enough money, but you're going to really soon realize that you ain't got enough wealth, nor do you have the privilege to actually sit at that table and actually have a say. Because you've been tokenized, you think that you belong. Yeah, they like to send us for us. I keep telling y'all that. But y'all let Rex have that whole theme in this city, riding around in these streets, talking about the golden age, and they act like we don't know what that means. Don't play in my face. See, that's what I can't do. I'm not going to let you suffocate me. And while I'm watching you suffocate me, you're going to look me in my eyes while you suffocate me? I can't be a part of that. No, sir. That's what we condone. Do they not have to, submit this stuff before they're allowed to roll? Because, see, they was throwing Confederate beads off the float, too, at one of these parades. And all they allowed the leader to say is, we can't manage every rider. We can't go through their stuff and see what they're throwing. If you can't do it, then don't parade. If you can't do it, then don't parade. It's that simple. Because for me, all of the throws look like they have to be approved, right? So how do you get away with throwing a Confederate flag off of a float? How you get away with that? And then you just slap them on the wrist and you just let them parade? Because I remember Julie over there at Nick's talking about all lives matter. She ain't even parading no more. What's the difference? What's the difference? If you dare display your racism, then you don't deserve to parade in these streets. And let's not act like we've always had the right to parade. Dorothy Taylor had to help fight for that. And this is what we're doing in 2025, letting people roll through our streets, talk about the golden age. When women couldn't vote. Black people were property. That's where we going. I am very much my ancestor. I am very much that type of energy. I'm very much of that school of thought. I'm very much a dragon slayer. That's what I feel in my mind. That's what I feel in my heart. I am not of the mindset where I got to keep letting you abuse me and I have to just take it. And I ain't going to take it. I'm going to tell you about it. And if you put your hands on me, I'm going to do something about it. That's where I come from. I don't know, but you ain't going to play in my face. You don't have my permission to play in my face. You don't. You don't. But you see, this is the type of energy, we need some of that Canadian energy, got to be. Maybe that's what we need. We need some Canadian energy Because let me tell you what they talking about over there in Canada. Trudeau slams Trump for starting a trade war with Canada while appeasing Putin. We've aligned ourselves with Russia. We've allowed the alcoholic that is running the Department of Defense to tell the government that Russia is no longer a cyber threat. You take them off our watch list. They're not our enemies no more. We not beefing with Russia right now. Russia is our homeboy. You know, Russia owns our president, so he our homeboy. He got to, you know, he gonna be doing press conferences from the Oval Office in a minute, right next to Elon Musk, because they all a team. They all buddies. They all might be at Mar-a-Lago right now, toasting to the State of the Union. But we need some Canadian Prime Minister energy. That's what we need. He called the American tariffs very dumb and said that the United States President Donald Trump is appeasing Russia while launching a trade war against Canada. So Canada put their own tariffs in place. And if you don't understand the ramifications of that, we're in trouble. America, you're in trouble, girl. How do you tell a whole nother you want them to be the 51st state? Trudeau said that's never going to happen. We will never be the 51st state. Trudeau said he wants to see a total collapse of the Canadian economy. Well, here, let me tell you something, Prime Minister. He also wants to see a total collapse of the United States of America. That's my opinion. That's everything he's doing is going to the demise of this country. Let me tell you something else that the Canadians say. We need some Ontario Prime Minister, Premier Doug Ford energy. He held a press conference regarding the new tariffs, and this is what he said. The Premier of Ontario, Canada's most populous province, said that he would issue a 25% export tax on electricity sold to the United States and may later cut it off completely if the American tariffs persist. Ontario powers 1.5 million homes in the United States in 2023 in Michigan, New York, and Minnesota. That man said, I'm going to turn the lights off on them. If that's what he want to do, if you want to start this trade war, if you think that you could just bully us, then we going to punch the bully in the throats. Going to turn the lights off. Now, figure out a way to power 1.5 million homes in the United States, in states like Michigan, New York, and Minnesota. Let me tell you what else he did. He empowered the other nations who actually govern the electric grid for other United States to do the same thing, to follow suit. If he wants to bully you, then you fight back. That's what he's saying. We need some of that energy. Because, see, I think it's almost asinine to be in a culturally black city. A culturally black city. Everything you love about this city is because of black people. Shout out to the young creative that coined that phrase. I think it's asinine in this culturally black city that we have a very few affluent white folk calling the shots. Don't that sound like the golden age? That's what they want. Those elite people to make decisions for the masses that don't do anything but keep poor people poor, dumb people dumb, and wealthy people wealthy. That's all it does. That's what they want to go back to. They want a defense, a military that is all white and male. That's what they want. That's what they're working their way towards anyway. That's what they want. How dare you criticize folk who signed themselves up to fight for this country when you have a commander-in-chief that ducked? He ducked it. He's like, oh, no, my feet hurt. I can't do that. I can't go to war. My feet hurt. But then you think you could get in the White House and bully people with your finger and your over spray tan body and your flip over wig on your head. You think that you could bully people, but you wouldn't even sign yourself up to go fight for the country that you hate. It all makes sense. You don't love this country. You love the ignorant voting populace of this country and ignorant because they don't know any better. And even when you try to tell them better and you try to educate them, they listen to you and all of your misinformation, all of your smoke and mirrors, because it placates to their racism. These systems will never work as long as white supremacy is the priority, is the goal. And you could think Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos and Bloomberg and all of these very extremely wealthy white folk, you could think they're on opposite sides. You could think they're fighting against the president. You can think all you want. They all go to Mar-a-Lago. They all go kiss the ring. They all want favor because they all want them contracts. They all want to keep the wealthy wealthy. Because, see, Elon don't have no liquid money. Elon is rich with contract money from the government. That's why he's in control of the government right now. Because Trump in his pocket. And he have to do everything he can to keep himself enriched. And that means to the demise of the American people. And we sitting on the sidelines watching it. But hey, we right here in New Orleans let Rex rolling through our city with a golden age theme for the carnival season. They saying the quiet part out loud and they saying it right to your face. What you gonna do about it? Stay right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 AM from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Breezy and cooler today. Wind advisory until 6 p.m. Wind speeds 20 to 25 with gusts up to 35 expected. Mostly sunny, though, with highs in the low to mid-60s, so slightly cooler. Cool and dry tonight, lows in the 40s, 60s, and sunny for Thursday. Warming back to the 70s by Friday. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
I occasionally have nerve discomfort in my hands, so the things I love to do...
Let's play something, Grandma.
...became difficult as I got older.
If you have occasional stabbing and burning in your hands and feet, try Nervive Nerve Relief. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use. Say yes to healthy nerves with Nervive Nerve Relief. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor. We're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Every Friday at noon on WBOK.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060. Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Brian Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta White. My super producer, Naira Sanders, is also in the building. If you're just joining us, you missed a lot. It's a talk show, and we talk over here. I was laughing as we were going to break because I think it's funny, you know, when folk play in our face and they try to do so in a way that they think we're not going to recognize, because I also heard, you know, that Rex's theme was in French. like people can't translate that. Like they don't got Duolingo around here. Like child. Like French ain't a part of the culture of this community. I took French in high school. Y'all really got to stop playing it. Then I heard you also try to diss the mayor by not going to Galia Hall for the toast, huh, Rex? Oh, listen, all I'm going to say is I like when people stand on what they mean. Stand on it. You know what I mean? I actually like that. I'd rather know who you are, you know? I'd rather know what I'm dealing with. I don't like, wolves masquerading as sheep. Like, I just like to see the wolf. Come as you are, like the church folks say. Don't put on no sheep suit and try to convince me that you safe when you ain't nothing but a vulture and a wolf. So I ain't mad at it. Just keep that same energy each and every time. But I guarantee you, when if the hue of the mayor change, you ain't gonna miss a chance to go toast at Galia Hall. That lets me know that it's rooted in racism, Rex. But that's par for the course with y'all. We know that already, but we still let y'all play in our face each and every carnival season. We let y'all do it. We let y'all masquerade around here looking like the Ku Klux Klan. Nobody say nothing about it. So I mean, look, do what you want. Do what you wanna. That's part of the culture here too. Do what you wanna, cause they letting you anyway. So if you wanna diss the office of the mayor by not going to Galia Hall, then let's see what you're gonna do next year. When a different person is in that seat. Who it would be, we don't know, because the mayoral race is shaping up. But as it stands right now, I only know 3 names in the race, which is Helena Moreno, Arthur Hunter, and a young lady named Renata Collins. That's the only people that I know who have made themselves known to the public that they're interested in the mayoral seat. But they like to say the quiet part out loud, whether they saying it in French or not. And then, we have another asinine executive order coming out talking about making English the official language of the United States of America. I would laugh at that, but I mean, they have folk that always thought that English was the language of this country. That's why they tell people speak in English. How you going to try to tell somebody to speak in a language that don't belong to your country? Yeah, I just think it's just so strange what we allowing this person to do to this country. It's almost it would be funny if it wasn't true. We are the laughing stock of the country, and I know it. And I know Putin wakes up every single morning looking at his handiwork, because his hands are all over this thing. He tried it last time too, and the time before that. So, they played a long game. Putin is pleased if nobody else is pleased. Good morning, Shedrick. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, Dr. Wyatt. I just wonder, what has to be done for us to wake up as a people? When we see what's happening at the federal level, the state level, and now and it's happening at the city level, what do we have to do to wake up? What do we have to do to remember what our ancestors been through for us to be a part of the voting process at a mass level and at a continuous basis? It's like we don't want to know our history. For example, something as simple as Zulu blackface painting. Do people really know why they started that back in the day? Whether you like it or not, it was started because it was illegal back then for black people to wear masks. Nevertheless, the mayor's race, we're about to lose perhaps having a black mayor perhaps for some years, because we don't know our history, or we're choosing not to remember our history. You, Dr. Wyatt, as I close, in the fight of our most important commodity, our children, why are we so deaf or so silent? Anywho, God help us to help ourselves.
Yeah.
You have a good one.
You too. Listen, I absolutely couldn't disagree more with the last sentiment about the children, but I also want to say, in terms of Zulu and blackface, I don't think that the pushback was ever about the black folk masking with black paint. And anybody could correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I don't typically participate in these things. But the pushback that I've always heard was allowing the people who aren't black to blackface for Zulu. And I mean, I do know that there are non-black members. And so that was always the push I've heard about. I'm not certain. I'm not the expert there. I don't know. But that was the pushback that I've heard in terms of the blackface, not necessarily disagreeing with the black members blackfacing for Zulu because of, the history of the organization and the history of Mardi Gras. I was always, I've always heard the sentiment that the non-black riders, specifically white members, were also black masking for Zulu. Again, I stand to be corrected. If you have the information, please share it. But I want to say this before I close. I want to let you know, too, though, that I did call the Louisiana Department of Protection through Probation and Community Corrections, the office that Carly works for. I called the New Orleans one because I couldn't get anybody on the regional level. I called the regional director's office for East Jefferson, and New Orleans. They told me that she doesn't work for them. And then, so I'm going to call the regional director at this 225-342-6609 number to find out what the last name of Carly is. So she's not even from this area. She came from a different parish, apparently, because they're saying she doesn't work for East Jefferson, or New Orleans. So there are other parishes around other cities that she could have come from. And I'll make that phone call to find out her last name because I want to know it. I absolutely want to know it. But I want to end this segment once again by giving our heartfelt love and condolences to the family of Caleb Wilson. There has been an update in his case, and the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated has issued an official statement on it. As you can remember, I read the statements from the Jefferson Parish Police, from Gail Benson with the Saints, and those were the statements that were out at the time. Well, now there's a statement from Ricky L. Lewis, the Grand Basileus, International President of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and it says, "It is with profound sorrow that we extend our condolences on the passing of Caleb Wilson. His loss is deeply felt, and our hearts go out to his family, friends, and all who were touched by him. Caleb was more than a beloved son, grandson, brother, nephew, and cousin. He was a scholar, an exceptional member of the Southern University Marching Band, and a passionate and dedicated leader in student life. We have been informed that the local authorities have launched an investigation into this tragic incident, and we fully support their efforts to seek the truth. Currently, our foremost priority is standing in unwavering support of Caleb's family. We have extended ourselves to them and are ready to assist in any way possible during this difficult time. We recognize that many of you may have questions, and we are actively working to gather accurate information. In the meantime, we ask for your patience, your prayers, your solidarity as we honor Caleb's memory and support those grieving his loss." And again, that is from the International President, Grand Basileus Ricky L. Lewis from Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Now, the update, they have since found out that the story that was originally put out that the child collapsed while he was standing in line at a park is absolutely not the truth. Apparently, this incident took place at a warehouse in Baton Rouge, and he apparently collapsed from being punched in the chest. And they're saying it was potentially while being hazed. Several other pledges were subjected to the same activity. This so-called unauthorized fraternity ritual allegedly took place at a warehouse off Greenwell Springs Road. What actually happened inside that warehouse is not clear, but it appears members aren't being totally forthcoming as they originally told investigators. They were in the BREC Northwood Sherwood Park when Wilson suddenly collapsed. According to the district attorney's office, several members of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity have been interviewed by police already, and sources say arrests could be imminent. As of Friday, the coroner's report was not complete, and Wilson's cause of death was undetermined. There have been no updates provided since then. Once again, for me, as a member of the Divine Nine, we want to extend our heartfelt condolences to the family of Caleb Wilson, and we hope that the truth comes to light. And in the words of my attorney friend, Attorney Ryan Thompson, may justice be swift. Y'all stay tuned. Up next for the Front Porch, we're grilling and Kimber. But as far as Dr. White and the Good Morning Show, I'm going to see y'all tomorrow. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.